coming on the clouds. Kings and kingdoms will bow down. And every chain will break as broken hearts declare His praise. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power and fighting our battles. And every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. His blood breaks the chains, and every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before Him. So open up the gates, make way before the King of Kings. The God who comes to save is here to set the captives free. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power and fighting our battles. And every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. His blood breaks the chains, and every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before Him. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Yes, who can stop the Lord Almighty? 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 Who can stop the Lord? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power and fighting our battles. And every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. His blood breaks the chains, and every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before Him. I once was captive by the enemy. He had me thinking I was out of reach. Oh Jesus, mercy shut His mouth. I once was crippled by the weight of shame. Embarrassed, I couldn't even show Oh Jesus, then I heard you speak. Your love, it comes with no condition. You give us your heart. My hope is in the blood of Jesus. I know who I am because of who you are. I hear you calling me beyond my sin. You tell me that grace is taking care of me. Oh Jesus, you're my victory. Oh Jesus, you're my victory. Your love, it comes with no condition. You give us your heart. My hope is in the blood of Jesus. I know who I am because of who you are. I know who I am. I serve a king with good intentions. God, you will never turn your back on me. How could a wretch become your treasure? The love of God has changed my destiny. I serve a king with good intentions. God, you will never turn your back on me. How could a wretch become your treasure? The love of God has changed my destiny. Your love, it comes with no condition. You give us your whole heart. My hope is in the blood of Jesus. I know who I am because of who you are. I know who I am because of who you are. I know who I am. I know who I am. Your love, it comes with no conditions. You give us your whole heart. My hope is in the blood of Jesus. I know who I am because of who you are. I know who I am because of who you are.
Hey everybody, my name's Drew Cleek. I'm part of the teaching team here at Vertical Church. Really excited to be with you this Sunday morning. We're in our fourth installment of a four-part series over the book of Esther we're calling The Enemy's Noose. If you weren't here for the prior 3 weeks, I suggest you go on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, or jump onto the Vertical Plus podcast found in Apple iTunes and get into some of that content and explore some of the screencasts and the different things that the staff here is building out for you during this COVID-19 season. You know, Austin spoke week 1 on identity, did a great job. I was able to speak the next week on confidence. Ben last week spoke to you on a great message on the choice that you can make. And all those things were tools to put in your toolbox for this final week, and where we're trying to focus on being a more centered and more balanced person. And before we unpack that and open that up, I'd just like to start us in a word of prayer. God, I just thank you for this day. Thank you for this time that we get to be able to broadcast into the homes of our church. And I pray that we can get back to normal as quick as possible, God. But until that time, I pray that these words that you give us, that we're speaking to this church family, and that it's landing to the places and the people that need to hear it. It's in your name I pray. Amen. So the title of my message is Becoming Balanced. And, we've studied this book of Esther from so many different sides. We've looked at Esther herself, and rightly so. I mean, she's the heroine, she's the protagonist of the story. And we've looked at Haman, who's the villain, and you have to have a healthy amount of content for both of those for the narrative to make sense. And we've looked at subplot characters like the king. And I just want to leave this story where the author leaves it with the character of Mordecai. Mordecai, rarely recognized as a hero, but throughout the whole book, he's working in the background. And he exhibits so many qualities that I wish I had as a person. He's just unwavering through the whole thing. And, I've spoken to a lot of friends over the last couple weeks, and especially since when I spoke on confidence. And by the way, church, thank you so much for the encouragement and the confidence that you gave me to be able to get up there and talk that week. That was awesome. However, I think I sent some of you guys, my default message was like, hey man, these aren't my words, they're God's words, trying to be humble. And since I've watched Waco on Netflix due to Austin Roberts' recommendation, that was something that David Koresh regularly said, and I don't want to come off as a Branch Davidian, so I do want to say thank you, but I'll probably choose my words a little bit differently in the future. But in conversations with you guys, you've opened up so much about insecurities. And maybe it's the transparency because of the season that we're going through, or people are reflecting differently because of COVID-19. But for me, man, I can relate to that so much. It's crazy. Some of my earliest childhood memories as a kid were struggling with insecurity and uncertainty. My parents had a lot of financial struggles early on. My dad and mom invested in a restaurant with a friend, and not to go into too many details, but that relationship and that business went south. And I just remember so many things about that time didn't make sense to me. We had a really nice house. The bank was coming by and taking pictures of that. My dad had a brand new Ford Bronco 2, awesome truck, and we had to sell that. And I just looked around at my situation and was really confused, because my dad then started going from his 9-to-5 corporate job, wearing a suit and tie, to coming home in a pizza outfit, delivering pizzas at night to avoid bankruptcy. And I was like, well, that doesn't really compute with me as a young child. None of my other friends' dads come home wearing a pizza outfit. And then this nice car that we had is no longer in the driveway, and it's replaced with an early 1980s Toyota single cab pickup. And I'm not sure if it was rusted that much or if it was actually red, but I called it the Red Lobster. And the front bumper was actually put on, this is no joke, it was actually held together to the frame with clothes hangers that were tied around it in multiple places. I mean, the thing was just a piece of junk. And I remember being really self-conscious and embarrassed about that. And I was going to church regularly with my parents, and we were talking about this God that had everything under control. And I was like, nothing seems to be under control. Nothing seems to be certain in my life. And I think that a lot of people can really empathize with that situation as well and relate, because there's decisions that are being made that are levels higher than us, but they're still affecting us. They're things that we didn't do, but we're still feeling the effects of those things. And so as we look at the story of Esther, and specifically of Mordecai, I think he would be the first person to raise his hand and be like, I understand. Because the story of Mordecai, if you're looking at it from a reasonable, logical standpoint, does not make sense. Why would God use this young girl and this old man to be the deliverers of genocide for the people of Israel? It just doesn't compute. It's okay, well, God, where were you really working? Mordecai's a guy that has legitimately been dealt a bad hand, and then it just gets worse. If you look at his story, like, he's living in exile in modern day Iran, and he's taking care of this young girl who's either a cousin or a niece, depending on whatever translation you're checking out. And he goes from being thrust into that situation to being said, hey, you and your family are going to be the people that are going to be my tools for salvation for the Jews from this genocide that's going to happen. And I just want to take a moment to look at some of the Mordecai parts of this story. He's introduced in chapter 2, this character, and he's sitting at the king's gate, and he discovers a plot that the king's going to be killed. He tells the local officials save the king, and Mordecai is completely forgotten. He's not recognized. You go to chapter 3, and he refuses to bow to this guy named Haman. And then from chapters 3 basically to 6, there's this specific plot to not only kill Mordecai, but kill all of the Jews. And then chapters 6 through 10, God starts interceding and restoring Mordecai. And Mordecai unites the Jewish people after Haman is basically killed by the king, and Mordecai inherits the estate of Haman, and they start taking the fight to the enemy. And then all these things happen, and the book of Esther ends in chapter 10. And it says, this is where I want to quote scripture directly. It says, "For Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to the king. He was great among the Jews and popular with the multitude of his brothers, for he sought the welfare of his people and spoke peace to all." Mordecai couldn't have done this if he wasn't a balanced person, right? He's got this roller coaster of a story. And if he had been like stuck in this insecurity mode, which so many people, myself included, are, he would have never been able to carry out and fulfill what God was trying to do in his life. However, like, if we could just be transparent for a moment here, I'd like to look at this and just tell you that this situation, if I'm putting myself in his shoes every step of the way, like, my responses are so much different than what Mordecai's were. Chapter 2, if I'm passed over for any type of reward or anything like that from the king for saving his life, man, I'm bitter. I'm really bitter at this point. I'm like, where's mine? Why am I not getting mine? Chapters 3 through 5, like, I'm starting to get angry at God, right? And then once the tide of the story starts changing in chapter 6 all the way to 10, at that point, I'm like, yeah, I got what I'm owed. And that's probably my mentality in that situation. And not only as Mordecai starts like basically taking out the enemies, he's gone from sitting at the gate to being this like Gambino type mobster where he's removing his enemies, and not in a bad way, but legitimately removing his enemies one person at a time by family members. Like, I'm sitting there like collecting wealth, collecting power, because that's my selfish ambition. That's the spirit that I have over me. And like, I'm just being human with you guys. Like, I'm just telling you, if I'm in this story, that's probably how I'm reacting. And so sometimes I have problems relating to Mordecai and his character, his unwavering humility throughout this whole thing, because I get in this comparison trap. And it's worse, I think, sometimes here in Madison than ever before in my life, because I look around at what everybody else has. It seems like everybody's got the perfect car, the perfect house, the perfect family. And I look at their situation, I wonder why that's not my situation, right? I'm in this constant comparison of situations. And it's the self-licking ice cream cone, because you get in this part where you're putting more focus on the things that you can influence, the things you can affect, like your job and your house and all the wealth that you would accrue. But then those things always let you down. They always let you down. And then you become more insecure and you start comparing more. And it's this vicious cycle. And so sometimes I see myself more as a Haman character than a hero like Mordecai. And so the question is, like, how do we fix this problem, especially in this like current state that we're in? Like, how do we remove this FOMO we have, this fear of missing out, and know that God's got us here specifically for this time, and that we have to be patient and wait on Him, and that we're focused on what's really important? I think Mordecai gives us some practical steps to be able to do this. See, Mordecai was happy to be the supporting character in the story of Esther. he was always there sitting at the gate, waiting for Esther's servant or her handmaid to come and relay information to him. He was never trying to jump into the situation, which if it was me, again, I'm sitting here in an unhealthy state of saying, oh, I wouldn't be waiting for a 15-year-old girl. The challenger in me would be like, hey, I'm going to take this situation, I'm going to control it, and I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to get my way out, and I'm going to get my family out. But he's not. He's okay with being the supporting character. And so here's a check on your condition. Are you content if God keeps you at the gate? And what I mean by that is if God keeps you in a supporting role, if God keeps you in that starter home that you're in now permanently, if God you get passed up for promotion because God's got a different plan for your life, are you okay with that? Are you still secure in God's plan? Because Mordecai was patient because he knew that God was working in the background of all these things. Are you secure with God's plan for your life that may not include that family you dreamed of or that marriage you scrapbooked for when you were a little girl? Those are questions I want to ask you, because Mordecai, he kept focus on what was really important. Even as he's rising through the ranks and he's gaining power, he doesn't take plunder from his enemies because he keeps the focus on the things that are important and his intentions on the things that are pure. And through that whole thing, I'm saying that for me, I lose sight sometimes on the things that are really important. I focus on money and I focus on position. I focus on notoriety and titles. And that's unhealthy, guys. And especially right now with everything in flux and uncertainty, I think that people are more transparent than ever because this whole season of COVID-19 has turned everything upside down. And the things that were once important are no longer important, and people are starting to understand that. We're starting to identify that. And if you're asking yourself these questions and you're identifying that you're unhealthy, Vertical Church, we've got to change some priorities around. Mordecai became a person who sought the welfare of others above himself because he was rooted in the confidence of God. He was a balanced person that loved God and he loved other people above himself. And listen, you're going to have an opportunity to walk back into your place of work, into your social groups, and you're going to be able to redefine yourself more than any time in history, more than any New Year's resolution could ever do. And people are going to look around and look at people and say, who are you coming out of quarantine? Who are you coming out of this season of COVID-19? Are you going to be that person that's prioritizing and putting your faith in a God that's got a plan for you? Or are you going to be that person that's going to continue to put yourself in a situation where you're in the driver's seat and you have faith in what you can do? I'm just telling you, Vertical Church, my challenge to you today is to choose confidence over comparison. And that confidence is confidence in God. And that's where I want to close this today in prayer. God, I lift up Vertical Church. I lift up our community, God. I just pray that we have this confidence in you, this confidence that we can sit into your plan, a resting place, God, and we can just be patient for the things that are supposed to come, God, and that we're okay with the things that you find important, and that you shift around our priorities to that. It's in your holy name I pray. Amen.
Take each step with your confidence, 'cause I am yours. I am yours. You never fail. You never will. I'll trust your name for greater things. You will come. You always do. I'll trust you. my brokenness. You took my shame and you buried it. What you've done, I won't forget. You never fail, you never will. I'll trust your name for greater things. You will come through, you always do. I'll trust your name for greater things. You never fail, you never will. I'll trust your name for greater things. You will come through, you always do. I'll trust your name for greater things. I will not fear, for you are with me. And I'll see this fight from the victory. No power of hell can stand against me. 'Cause I've seen this fight from the victory. Let's sing that again. And I will not fear, for you are with me. And I'll see this fight from the victory. And no power of hell can stand against me. 'Cause I've seen this fight from the victory. And you never fail, you never will. I'll trust your name for greater things. You will come through, you always do. I'll trust your name for greater things.
Thanks for checking out the online services of Vertical Church. If you're looking to connect with Vertical, whether for prayer, chatting, info, community, or whatever, you can text Vertical to 31996 and someone will get in touch with you. If you're looking to give, you can check out livevertical.tv/give. If you're looking to go more in depth with today's topic, you can check out our podcast, Vertical Plus. Once again, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.